In our headlines tonight, Catholic Church honors Governor Biano with special award for promoting social harmony. State government restates commitments towards youth empowerment. Reactions trailed President Buhari's refusal to assent to electoral bill. On the foreign scene, French police detained more protesters in Paris. Good evening, glad to have you tonight. My name is Maureen Stone Enujake. The Catholic Church has honored Governor Biano with special award for promoting social harmony in the state and beyond. The honor is in reception of various people-oriented policies of the governor aimed at engendering comprehensive human and physical developments, and commenced with a high mass celebrated by Cardinal Francis Arinze at Christ the King Parish, Ihala. Government House correspondent Ejika Bana is our guide.
In a homily, Cardinal Arinze explained that the Catholic Church the world over is celebrating the history of Blessed Virgin Mary, whom he described as a woman full of grace, and said that the Mass is to recognize three persons in the state with awards for social harmony. While asking God for blessings upon the three awardees, the Cardinal charged Christians to always pray for those in power as authority comes from God, urging those in power to always desire wisdom, fair play, balanced judgment, and willingness to serve the masses, as well as give hope to the unemployed and pensioners.
In view of the fact that divine providence already planned that the Virgin Mary would be the mother of the Son of God, who would take on human nature for love of us and for our salvation. God preserved the Virgin of Nazareth from the stain of original sin and from every personal sin. She was full of grace, as the angel said in the gospel just read.
Receiving the honor, Governor Biano, while appreciating the honor, said that it is gratifying to be remembered and honored in one's home for good deeds, and thanked the Catholic community for the honor. The governor promised to continue to project the state in a good light and announced that he has empowered and mobilized the contractor handling the Ihiala Road project, Tar the Road, as it has great economic relevance and importance to the state.
Francis Arinze, I went back to one contractor, contractor goes on, and you go me
The Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Mr. C. Don Adenoba, appreciated Cardinal Arinze for always thinking home, praying God to continue to keep him.
Exactly 1 year, 10 years, Cardinal retired as prefect for the congregation for divine worship and discipline of sacraments. So, if he don't celebrate, he never.
During the High Mass, the governor was honored alongside two other in Anambra. The wife of the governor, Chief Ebelechukwu Obiano, Secretary to the State Government, Professor Solochukwu Lobelo, Chief of Staff to the Governor, Mr. Primus Odele, Head of Service, Barrister Hariodo, traditional rulers, Abga faithful led by the State Chairman, Sir Norbert Obi, political functionaries, among others, attended the Mass. Choir rendition also featured at the special Mass. From Ihiala, Ejike Abana, ABS News.
The saying, "Teach me how to fish and I will feed for life," was demonstrated yesterday when 151 youths selected from all the communities that make up Anambra Central Senatorial District, who went through a 10-day skills training program, were presented with starter packs, stipends, and certificates. The passing out ceremony took place at the Anocha Council Secretariat, Nini. Correspondent Mozobileri covered the event and now reports.
Training training facilitated by the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, Abuja, was attracted by the senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Chief Victor Ume. Addressing the trainees, Senator Ume explained that the training was supposed to hold in 2017, but did not because the district has no representation during the period, commending the director of the NDE for listening to his plea and for facilitating the training even 1 year after it was carried out across the country. Senator Ume explained that the training has taken 151 youths, 20 from each council area and 11 others off the streets, as they can access loan from CBN with the certificates they were given at the end of the 10-day training as provided by the scheme. Senator Ume, who is the Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Labor and Employment, charged them to utilize the loans and starter pack to make a living and create employment, saying that the training was to complement the efforts of Governor Obiano, who has been empowering youths through various programs.
This is a stepping stone to what we can do. We can be in future. Can from here transform your lives. Instead of asking somebody to give you money because you're unemployed, if you have this opportunity, you can use this to create wealth and money for yourselves.
On his part, the director NDE, Mr. Nasiru Arugungu, said that the trainees could access the loans of between 1 million to 10 million naira without collateral and can pay back within the space of 7 years. Represented by the Anambra State Coordinator NDE, Mr. Eke Iruebu, Mr. Arugungu added that the trainees will be closely monitored to ensure that they do not misuse the money.
Once you have been trained here, you are qualified for that loan. Even though your category will be determined when you come, we will look at your ability to manage. But for the graduates, it's already there. It's between 1 million and 10 million.
Also speaking, the Commissioner for Youth Entrepreneurship and Creative Economy, Mr. Bonaventure Enemali, said that the present administration in the state is keen on ensuring that youths are gainfully employed, noting that the training will be feeding over 1,000 families. Mr. Enemali appreciated Senator Ume for achieving the feat within his short stay in the National Assembly, calling on Anambra Central to give him maximum support.
This government has everything to do with youth. They are very youth-focused and youth-friendly. I will tell you categorically that more than 1,000 people are out of the streets, can feed comfortably today.
Some of the beneficiaries who spoke to the ABS, including Geraldine Kosisochukwu, Mabel Ogu, and Obinno Ojukwu, expressed appreciation to Senator Ume for his interest in the welfare of youths, praying God to bless his life endeavors.
To say a very big thank you to him for making our time for remembering us and empowering us, the youths. We say that God should do what? Add more grace to his help.
I really appreciate Senator Victor Ume for his gesture. It's not easy. He has done his best. Notwithstanding, it's not too long to enter into it.
The beneficiaries were later presented with the certificate, stipend from NDE, and 20,000 naira each from Senator Ume. From Anocha Council Secretariat, Neni, I am Ngozi Obileri for ABS News.
The state government has initiated measures to restore mobile library service in the state. The Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Mr. Sidon Adinoba, disclosed this during annual conference and general meeting of the Nigerian Library Association, Anambra State Chapter in Oka. Ushia has the details.
The conference, held at Kennedy Central Library, has the theme, Libraries Supporting Citizens' Empowerment Through Information Access. Mr. Adinoba explained that the Ministry of Information is working with the Ministry of Education to ensure that mobile library is actualized.
Anambra State, as all of you know here very well, every Wednesday, you are compelled to speak in Igbo and dress the way our people do. This is a law we take seriously, and any fraction will be penalized adequately and immediately.
In his presentation, Professor Ike Odumegu, a professor of philosophy and dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, UNIZIK, spoke on library in the metrics of knowledge is power, regretted increasing decline in reading culture in the society, and called for empowerment of Nigerians by giving them easy access to learning materials to encourage them to read, while commending the state government for improving libraries' facilities and ensuring proper funding, but observed that there's room for improvements. Also speaking, the chairman, National Library Association, Anambra State Chapter, Princess Ujuwa Urizu, noted that the event served as a great opportunity for librarians across the state to fellowship and cross-fertilize ideas.
Is key to development of any nation, and that is why we say that Nigerians can be saved from a lot of things we are suffering today if information is rightly disseminated to people at the point of need and giving them the right information they need.
In his opening remark, the chairman of the occasion, Barrister Charles Nwoji, who is the State Director of National Orientation Agency, Anambra State, noted that library is first and foremost information resource based and helps to promote reading culture of the people. He called on librarians and the government to intensify efforts towards stimulating people's interest to read books while urging youth to shun illicit drugs. High point of the event was the presentation and unveiling of the directory and journal of the Anambra Librarians Association, Anambra State, by the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Mr. Adinuba. Uche reporting for ABS News.
Over 27 Anglican faithful have been commissioned and invested as Gideon on the Niger, GON, in the Anglican Diocese on the Niger by the Bishop of the Diocese, Right Reverend Dr. Owen Wokolo. The All Saints Cathedral, Onitsha, the venue of the event, was filled to capacity as people from all walks of life attended the event. Njideka Okoye covered the event service, the church service rather, to mark the event. Her reports.
Amen. Mighty man of God. Amen.
The Gideonites were decorated and took oaths of allegiance before the commissioning by the bishop. Earlier in a sermon, Bishop Nwokolo charged the Gideonites to fight the good fight of faith and defend the gospel of Christ on a daily basis, as well as be more committed to the things of God. Bishop Nwokolo urged them to speak and uphold the truth, above all, to live by example, as well as preach the gospel to all men.
Working for the Lord, we are fighting the fights of faith. We are leading people to Christ. We are making sure that the kingdom of God will continue to expand, and we will continue to take our positions. We will continue to conquer lands. We will continue to disciple people to be good Christians.
Also speaking, the president, Gideon on the Niger, Barrister Chubo Rangose, who enumerated the roles of a Gideonite to include defending of the church and of the gospel, ensure the spread of the gospel, and use their time, resources, and knowledge to propagate the gospel, among others. Barrister Rangose commended Bishop Nwokolo for his commitment towards the expansion of the gospel, development, and growth of the church in the diocese.
The job of the Gideon on the Niger to the church is doing a marvelous work, growing the church, expanding the territories and the infrastructure in the diocese. So they have a very great job to do.
Some of the Gideonites, including Honorable Okwi Madekwe and Mr. Ifeanyi Uche, thanked God and appreciated Bishop Nwokolo for finding them worthy to serve, promising to put their best towards propagation of the gospel in the diocese, and described the investiture as a call for greater service. Seminars, awards, and thanksgiving featured at the service. From All Saints Cathedral, Onitsha, Njideka Okoye, ABS News.
Nigeria ranks first in Africa and 60th in the world in tuberculosis disease burden. The Director of Public Health, Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. Evelyn Ngige, made this known during the 2018 annual review meeting of the National Tuberculosis, Leprosy, and Buruli Ulcer Control Program, organized by the Department of Public Health, Federal Ministry of Health, in conjunction with the Anambra State government, held in Oka. We have the details.
Addressing the participants who came from the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Dr. Ngige, represented by the National Tuberculosis, Leprosy, and Buruli Ulcer Control Program, Dr. Adebola Lawasen, said that they afford them the opportunity to reflect on their performances in the previous year and equally help them to their progress. Dr. Ngige, who said that despite the giant gains made over the years in the fight against the three diseases, the position of the country in Africa and the world at large
bad. It's totally unacceptable, and every hand must be on deck to eliminate the diseases, even as she said that there are 7,389 tuberculosis drug centers across the country. Governor Willie Obiano, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Solochukwu Lobero, while declaring the event open, pointed out that tuberculosis remains one of the most deadly infectious diseases in the world and urged the participants to formulate a pragmatic work plan that will help to eliminate the diseases in Nigeria. Governor Obiano also revealed that treatment of tuberculosis is included among the benefits of the state health insurance scheme and assured that his government will continue to support the state tuberculosis, leprosy, and biliary ulcer control program.
The Anambra State program has recorded some impressive achievements over the past few years. Case findings have tremendously increased. Treatment outcomes have also improved, as well as enrollment rate for multi-drug resistant TB patients.
The state coordinator, National Tuberculosis, Leprosy, and Biliary Ulcer Control Program, Dr. Okoli Ifeanyi-Chukwuebuka, said that identification of people with the diseases is paramount to them, as well as awareness creation and sensitization.
Let's diversify our mind in finding TB cases. We are going to think beyond the boxes now, outside the boxes. Even outside the boxes, we increase the periphery to find TB. There is no singular way of finding TB.
You're still watching ABS Television News, Channel 2 for Oka. A commercial break beckons. Stay tuned.
Anambra Broadcasting Service, ABS, invites Ndi Anambra and all lovers of goodwill to her
2018 Festival of Carols and 9 Lessons and ceremonies marking her 2018 Christmas Party and Achievement Awards.
Thursday, December 13th, 2018 at 12 noon.
Venue, ABS Headquarters, Aroma Junction, Oka.
Chairman of the occasion, Senator Dr. Victor Ume, OFR, Senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District.
Royal Father of the Day, His Royal Highness Igwe Ben Emeke Okebo II of Umueri. Carols to be rendered by St. Mary's Parish Choir, Oka, Life of Gospel Assembly Ministries Choir, Nkwele Zunaka, Poche Angelical Chorale, Oka, St. Mark's Anglican Church Choir, Enuguagede, among others.
Come, let's sing praises to the newborn King.
Glad to know you're still watching. The National Assembly, People's Democratic Party, over 45 opposition political parties under the aegis of the Coalition of United Political Parties, and some prominent senior advocates of Nigeria have kicked as President Muhammadu Buhari finally withheld his assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2018 passed by the National Assembly. The president had earlier on Friday announced his decision to withhold his assent to the crucial electoral bill, which the National Assembly transmitted to him on November 7. The controversial bill has been returned to the National Assembly after the president refused to sign it in the fourth time. The president had earlier rejected it for the third time and returned it to the legislature on August 30. Confirming Buhari's latest decision in Abuja, his senior special assistant National Assembly Matters, Senate, Senator Ita Enang, said the president gave his reasons in a letter to the National Assembly. He added that Buhari acted within the law, which compels him to communicate his decision to the National Assembly. Buhari made the withdrawal known in a letter to the Senate and the House of Representatives, which was addressed to the President, Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, respectively. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has charged the National Assembly to save the country's democracy, by immediately overriding President Muhammadu Buhari's refusal to sign the amendments of the Electoral Act. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Kola Ologundiyan, the party noted that Buhari's repeated refusal to sign amendments passed to check rigging in the election raises issues of his sincerity of purpose and has the capacity to trigger political unrest and violence, which can, in turn, truncate the country's democracy. The Director General of the President Muhammadu Buhari Campaign Organization, Festus Keyamo, SAN, in his reaction said that the Senate cannot muster the number of override President Muhammadu Buhari on the Electoral Act Amendments Bill. Keyamo said that the PDP was just grandstanding, noting that there was no need for any fear over the refusal of the President to assent to the Electoral Bill. President Muhammadu Buhari is set to get National Assembly's nod to present 8.7 trillion naira as budget estimates for 2019 to the legislature. This followed the approval of the proposal by a special session of the Federal Executive Council, which sat in Abuja on Friday. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, who spoke with correspondents soon after the meeting, said within days the President would write the National Assembly requesting a date to lay the estimates before a joint session of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Udo Udoma did not give details of the proposals. However, ahead of Friday's meeting, the federal government already disclosed that next year's budget would be 8.7 trillion naira, a drop from the 9.12 trillion naira approved for 2018. The 2019 to 2021 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper already laid before the National Assembly contained 8.7 trillion naira as the budget size for 2019. Earlier on October 24, the FEC had approved the MTEF. The minister had stated that the government expected a reduction in revenue in 2019 and opted to plan in line with the revenue in view. For instance, it said government's borrowing would reduce from 1.6 trillion naira in 2018 to 1.5 trillion naira in 2019. As for the deficit, the minister said it would be cut down to 1.6 trillion naira in 2019 from the 1.9 trillion naira budgeted in 2018. The government also puts the daily oil production figure at 2.3 million barrels. However, with the recent fluctuation in global crude oil prices and a possible cut in supply by OPEC, it's unclear whether FEC retained the 2.3 million barrels per day. It had also recommended $60 as a crude oil benchmark and 305 naira as exchange rates to the dollar. Paris police detained nearly 300 people ahead of fresh anti-government yellow vest protests, which authorities fear could turn violent for a third weekend in a row. Clad in their luminous road safety jackets, dozens of demonstrators who accused President Emmanuel Macron of only looking out for the rich gathered at dawn on the Champs-Élysées, the scene last Saturday of the worst rioting in Paris for decades. Some 8,000 police were deployed, carrying out checks on people arriving at train stations and at protest hotspots such as the Champs-Élysées and Bastille Monument. A source close to the operation told newsmen that at least 34 people were arrested for carrying marks, hammers, slingshots, and rocks that could be used to attack police. Shops, museums, the Eiffel Tower, and many metro stations were closed as much of the city center went on effective lockdown. Top-flight football matches and concerts were cancelled. Last weekend's violence, which saw some 200 cars touched and the Arc de Triomphe vandalized, shook France and plunged Macron's government into its deepest crisis so far. Interior Minister Christophe Constantin said he expected only a few thousand people to descend on parks, Paris, after the 8,000 protesters contend last weekend, but among them are ultra-violent individuals. Prime Minister Edouard Philippe on Friday evening met a delegation of self-described moderate yellow vests who have urged people not to join the protest. After the meeting, a spokesman from the movement, Christophe Chalencon, said Philippe had listened to us and promised to take our demands to the president. Philippe said some 89,000 police were being mobilized nationwide, with a dozen armored vehicles deployed in Paris for the first time in decades. Sports news. The traditional ruler of Umweri community in Anambra East Local Government Area, Igwe Sam Bennett Emeke, has initiated a monthly physical exercise for body fitness for the people of the community. We have correspondent reports on this.
Igwe Emeka engaged experts in sports activities to lead them in the physical exercise, which over 50 members of the community participated. The body exercise, which started from Igwe Emeka's palace, took the people to Igwe Emeka Road, through Otocha Road, down to Abia Umweri, to the community square, Ama Umweri, among some other streets, and terminated at the Igwe's palace. Speaking after the exercise, Igwe Emeka stated that apart from giving the people free medical treatment, he thought it wise to engage them in physical exercise for body fitness. Igwe Emeka, who noted that physical exercise promotes good health and has been his routine before these activities, said he wanted his people to key into it for body fitness. Listing benefits of body exercise, the manager of a sports club, Chief Ndubisi Emenike, said it helps in body development, welfare and good health of the people. A member of the community, Chief Paul Obalom, thanked Igwe Emeka for his benevolence to the people of the community and for introducing physical exercise for the members of the community to promote good health. From Umweri, Njireka Okoye, ABS News.
The remains of late Mrs. Christiana Okoye has been interred at her husband's compound, Umuoba Nam, Anambra East Council area, amidst tears and grief. Late Christiana Okoye, who died at the age of 66, was the mother of Mr. Chibuzo Okoye and the mother-in-law of Amaka Chibuzo Okoye, both of the News and Current Affairs Department, Anambra Broadcasting Service. Correspondent Emmanuel Chibata was at the burial rites and now reports.
There were also eulogies from the traditional ruler of Umuoba Nam, Igwe George Ekwalo, Justice Sylvester Odele of the State High Court, and other dignitaries. Delivering a homily at the funeral mass, the parish priest of St. Augustine's Parish, Umuoba Anam, Reverend Father Clement Ayadinono, urged Christians to be prepared for the last day and to keep their faith alive despite the trying moment, adding that all must give account of their lives. He said the deceased lived a positive and a life that is worthy of emulation and has contributed to the development of the church.
She contributed as a simple woman in the church by practicing her faith. That is the greatest contribution, to live an exemplary Christian life and be a true gospel witness. So she tried her best to live up to the mark of a good Catholic.
Immediately after the Requiem Mass, the community secondary school of the town was filled with sympathizers, including family members, in-laws, friends and well-wishers who came to pay final respect to the deceased, who was adjudged to have been an outstanding woman of truth, honesty and substantial intellect. Also, member of Anambra Broadcasting Service, led by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Ushonwora, and the Director, News and Current Affairs, Mr. Gabe Obaleze, trooped out en masse to commiserate with the family of the deceased and charged them to be united, strong and prayerful, praying God to give them the grace to bear the irreplaceable loss with fortitude.
Our message for the family is to, take heart and, be united, be strong, and keep praying to God, for blessings and increase. That is usually an unfortunate thing, but when they look back, at the life their mom lived, that will also be a sort of consolation for them. So we sympathize with the family, particularly Chibu's, our staff, yes.
Our prayer is that God will replenish their stock. Whatever thing they use in preparing for this funeral, God will pay them back. and that the loss of their mom, God knows how to pay. They should bear the loss with fortitude.
In another condolence message, a friend of the family, Chief Ilebunam Boniface, said the deceased always taught them how to be prayerful and engaging in activities of God. The daughter-in-law of the deceased, Mrs. Amaka Chibuzokoye, said her mother-in-law touched many lives and left commendable legacies. Some of her children, including Mr. Nnamelugo and Chibuzokoye, expressed gratitude to those who contributed to the success of their mother's funeral rites. They stated that they will continue to sustain the good legacies of honesty and hard work their mother left behind, praying God to grant her eternal rest.
My mom was a hardworking woman, a woman who devoted everything she has to serve humanity. Though not wealthy, but not poor. So we must ensure that we live those legacies, we sustain it, we inculcate it in our day-to-day attitude, so that at the end of the day, people will be seeing our mom in our various lives.
The burial ceremony witnessed songs by St. Augustine's Parish Choir Umuoba, dance as well as condolence visits. From Umuoba Anam in Anambra East local government area, I am Emmanuel Shibata reporting for ABS News.
May her soul rest in peace. Amen. Remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by logging onto our website, www.absradiotv.com, and like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/ABS Radio Television, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ABS Radio TV. And now a recap of the main points just before we go. Catholic Church honored Governor Obiano with special award for promoting social harmony. State government has restated commitments towards youth empowerment. Reactions has trailed President Buhari's refusal to assent to the electoral bill. And on the foreign scene, French police have detained more protesters in Paris. And that's it on the news tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Maureen Stone Enujoke. Good night.